today's video, we are going to be talking about the Kat Von D Lock It Tattoo Foundation. I have heard both good and bad about this foundation, and I'd finally decided to purchase it for myself and try it and see what all the fuss was about. And I thought I would share my thoughts on this foundation with you guys. So let's go ahead and jump into the demo, and then we will talk about the pros and cons of this foundation. When I use the Kat Von D foundation, I like to pump out one pump at a time onto, well, this is a candle lid, but you could use some kind of makeup palette type deal. But I like to do this because I feel like I use less of the foundation that way. And with this foundation, a little bit goes a long way because this is so pigmented and so full coverage that it is very easy, in my opinion, to use too much. And I like to use my Real Techniques Expert Face Brush to apply this. So what I do is I just kind of lightly dab the brush into the foundation and just get it on there, and then I start kind of dotting it onto my face and stippling it into my skin. And then I do kind of buff it as well after I have stippled quite a bit. But you can see already, compared to this side of my face, that this foundation is no joke. And I will go ahead and mention that I do not like using a beauty blender with this foundation because it is so thick. I feel like you really need to use a brush to really work it into the skin. I think you'll get a more, not necessarily natural, but a less cakey finish, I would say. I don't know. My hair is not cooperating. Stop it. So that is one side of my face done, and as you can see, this side of my face really kind of lacks any dimension. It's very flat. It doesn't really have a lot of color, except for a little bit of redness around my nose. And then on this side of my face, you can see the discoloration around my eye, my acne scarring that I've got going on, and the redness that I have around my nose and over my cheeks. This is just a very thin layer of the foundation on this side, and I'm going to go ahead and touch up my other side of my face while I'm talking. But I work in very thin layers when I'm applying this foundation. So I work in the very thin layers because I feel like this foundation could go very heavy very quickly. Not necessarily cakey. Now that I have one full, very thin layer of this all over my face, I'm going to go back with another pump, and I'm just going to put that onto my palette. Go over the areas of my face that I feel need a little bit more coverage. So really not this side of my face, but this side of my face right here over this acne scarring. So again, I'll do the same thing, but this time in more of a stippling motion, because this foundation sets to kind of almost a powdery finish. So I like to push the second layer in as opposed to kind of buffing it in. And then you saw I did bring it over the tops of my cheeks just to kind of cancel out any redness. And then I will just take some over my forehead because I tend to get quite red on my forehead throughout the day for some reason. And ain't nobody want to look like a tomato just on the top half of their head. I say some really weird things. Then I do normally have quite a bit of foundation left over on the palette, or candle lid, whatever you prefer. So I will kind of dot that around my neck and blend down. So I'll just blend it back over my ears and behind my ears a little bit and just blend it down my neck so there's no kind of stopping line. Then after I have everything buffed in how I like it, I will go back Then after I have everything kind of buffed in how I like it, and there's no like weird heavy. Then after I have everything buffed in how I like it, I go in with some kind of beauty blender sponge. Beauty blender? Then after I have everything buffed in how I like it, I will go in with a beauty blender or this Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge. Damp, mind you, and just kind of push everything in. This will actually also pick up any excess product that is on the face, but it will also help everything blend into the skin a little bit more. This foundation comes in 18 shades and is available to purchase at Sephora for $35, which when you think about it and all of the brands that they carry at Sephora, this is probably one of the least expensive foundations in the entire store. I'm not comparing it to drugstore, I'm comparing it to the high-end foundations in Sephora. I do realize $35 is a lot of money for makeup, but we're comparing Sephora prices, not drugstore prices. In this foundation, I use shade Light 44, which is the second to lightest shade. Light 42 is the lightest shade, and then Deep 74 is the darkest shade, and then there are 16 shades in between those two. When I went to purchase this foundation, I was looking for golden undertones because that's what I need. And in all reality, this is probably a shade too light for me. I probably do need something more along the lines of Light 42, but for golden undertones. Light 42 is far too pink for my skin tone, even though that is probably what I need. But now that I am getting a little bit of a tan and it's coming into summer and I have been using some false tan, which I will talk about in my favorites video for the month of May, it really is not a problem. Even if it wasn't summer, I would just blend it down my neck and you probably wouldn't even be able to tell that it was a little bit too dark for me, to be honest. Let's talk pros and cons of the Lock It Tattoo foundation. First is a pro, and that is that this is a very full coverage foundation. And for me personally, that is what I prefer. I love to completely create a blank canvas and be able to contour and put on all kinds of blush and highlight. My favorite part of makeup is doing my face makeup and all of that. So I definitely love that this is full coverage. However, there is a con that comes with that. This is very full coverage, so there is a learning curve that goes with this foundation, because if you just slap on a whole bunch of this, like you could say the MAC Mineralized foundation, something that is a lighter weight and more of a liquidy consistency, which is what I was personally used to before I used this, it was very heavy, very mask-like. And in the demo, I say heavy and cakey are two different things. For me, heavy is when it starts to look like a mask, and cakey is when it's built up in certain areas and it just looks like there's like frosting on your face. Just saying. So you definitely have to kind of play with this and build it up. And like I said, you need to work in very thin layers with this foundation because, like I said, it can get very heavy and very mask-like very quickly. Pro number 2 and 3 I would like to talk about together. 2 is how long wearing this foundation is. This is a super long wearing foundation. And 3 is that this foundation claims to be transfer resistant. And this is super long wearing. This is crazy long wearing. Like, it doesn't move, it doesn't budge. I have gone outside, gotten completely gross and sweaty, and nothing has moved. It hangs on to my blush, my contour, my bronzer, my highlight. Everything stays in the same exact place. And that moves in to transfer resistant. And saying it's transfer resistant doesn't mean if you go like this really hard on your face that it's not going to move. It's obviously going to move if you're physically rubbing on your face in an intentional way. But just kind of if you brush against something or if you kind of brush against your clothing throughout the day, it's less likely to transfer from your face to your clothes or from your face to somebody else's face, things like that. It's not going to just slough off your face, is what I'm trying to say. It is going to stay in place because it is designed to stay where you put it. And I think that this foundation also helps for other things that you place on top of it to stay in place, like lock it, definitely means lock it because it locks my blush in place. Like, my contour has never looked so good all day long until I started using this foundation. Pro number 3 for this foundation is that it is formulated for all skin types and is oil-free. And that means if you have dry skin like I do or oily skin like, say, my friend Kelly, then you could use this foundation and you would probably like this foundation. And I really think that it's great that she just came out with one foundation that everybody can use and really spent time on making sure that everybody could use this. This says on the bottle that it gives a matte finish, and I feel like for oily skin or more combination skin that it would give a matte finish, but on my dry skin it gives more of a demi-matte or a natural matte finish. So the finish of it is very skin-like on my face. Con number 2 of this foundation is that if you have severely dry skin, like you are somebody that has dry patches on your face constantly, or has any kind of like flaking or peeling that happens because your skin is so dry, you would not like this foundation at all. Because this foundation has a tendency to cling to dry patches. Like, I have some acne scars that have not completely healed on my face, and it does tend to kind of bunch up and stick to that dry patch on my face. Which, with little dots, you can really work with, but if you have whole patches of dry skin on your face, you're not really going to like the way that this is sitting on your face. And then finally, pro number 4 about not just this foundation, but the whole Kat Von D line in general, is that it is formulated to be completely vegan, which means there's no harsh chemicals, no parabens, no synthetic fragrances, or anything like that in any of her products. This actually has no fragrance whatsoever, which I am incredibly thankful for, because I hate products that have really strong fragrance, like the Rimmel 9-in-1 BB cream. That stuff smells awful, and I smell it all day long when I wear it, but I love it. So when you use this foundation, you're not putting like crazy chemicals on your face that you're not really sure what it's going to do to your face. So apparently my son has decided to take a break and go behind some clouds. Hi, trying to film. Come back. Or not. Anyway, if you can't tell, I really like this foundation. For me, the pros definitely outweigh the cons, and I will sing the praises of this foundation probably for a long time to come, because really I feel like any skin type, unless you have severely dry skin, could use this foundation. And I really like it. It lasts all day. It stays beautiful all day. It even sometimes looks better at the end of the day than when I put it on in the morning. And I would definitely recommend you go purchase this. This is one of, like I said, the less expensive, higher-end foundations that Sephora sells. And if you go in there, those people are great. They will color match you, no problem. And I definitely think you should check this one out. So that does it for my review of the Kat Von D Lock It Tattoo Foundation. If you guys like my foundation reviews, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up so I know to keep doing more. And if you want to see more of my foundation reviews, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's up here on the left or the right. I don't really know which one. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.